Welcome everybody to the February tug. Let me get my screen up.
Yeah.
All right. February. Welcome to the 2023. My name is Aaron. We've got Yamil on here as well. Erica Plemons, also a leader. We've got Jeffrey Baker, Katie, and Andrew, all as the leadership of this Florida tug. Used to be the Orlando tug. And then a couple of years ago, a lot of the other Florida groups weren't meeting anymore, so they let us open it up to the entire state. So the six of us kind of run this one. Some of the things that we do is networking. So please connect on LinkedIn, follow each other on Twitter, Tableau Public, however you want to connect here. That's what this group is for. Monthly events and speakers, promoting best practices, growing the community, and increasing adoption. And we've been doing this for 2 straight years, having a monthly meeting. So not a lot of tugs can say that, but we'll see coming up. If you haven't been here before, haven't been here in a while, we've got a lot of great content coming up the rest of this year. And if you join the Orlando Tableau user group on LinkedIn, you can share your job posts there as well. Then that'll get everybody that's connected there. Again, you can put it in the chat if you want, but long term, if you have things that come up, join that group and then you can promote it there.
That's right.
These are all different ways to connect to us. We have 2 LinkedIn groups, a couple of Twitters and Slacks and emails. Email is probably the easiest way to get a hold of us if you have any questions or want to post a job or anything. So feel free to hit us up there at Gmail. We're going to give some swag ways we do every month. You have to stay until the end. Hey, look, I misspelled until. So that way you just don't come in and then you're automatically registered for the swag. We want you to stay here and enjoy this content and get something out of it instead of just coming here for some stuff. So stay till the end and you can be registered for that. Today we got Dawn from JP Chase going over tips and do's and don'ts and a build with me session as well. Haven't heard what that reset filters button is, so I'm looking forward to that. Next month we've got Brandy Beals going to go over Tableau catalog. And then in April, we have Alyssa from Discover doing the Back to Viz Basics, which I think she's a co-owner, co-creator of that, and as well as her, and as well as her Tableau journey.
Yes.
Coming up the rest of the year, you can see all of them have badges here. They're all ambassadors. Dawn today is an ambassador. In September, we got Tim. He's a visionary. So there's something for everybody here. So continue to come back and enjoy the content.
Yes.
Today we've got Dawn. She's a VP at Chase. She's got her own blog site covering Tableau, Alteryx, and Office, and more. Some of those articles have been featured in the DataFam Roundup that comes out every week, and the Tableau Bites. Dawn, remind me, who does the Tableau Bites?
Oh, I'm drawing a blank right now. So
I can see his face. I got it this morning, I think.
Jeff, I think his name is Jeff or something like that, or like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Steve Adams, yeah. I know it was something with S.
There you go. Thanks. She's also an Alteryx innovator. She's got 2 college degrees. She hosts training sessions within her company. Dawn, tell me, what kind of training sessions do you do? Is it just Tableau, or do you do Tableau, Alteryx, whatever you've got?
it used to be Alteryx, but now that I'm 100% Tableau, now that I'm on the Tableau Center of Excellence team, it's all focused on Tableau now.
Okay.
Very good.
She hosts and presents at these tugs all across the country. Loves all things sci-fi, which is good for me. I did never watch Doctor Who, but the rest I'm good with. So Dawn, floor is yours.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing. So this is like a combination of a couple of past presentations. So, you know, you might see some familiar things if maybe you attended one of the previous sessions. So like I said, I'm Dawn Harrington. I'm a social ambassador. I'm the Tableau training lead for JP Chase. So I currently teach a Tableau 101 and a 102 class, and I also lead something called Tableau Academy here at the firm. So techtipsgirl.com is my website. If you see me in a stormtrooper, you know you're at the right place. And I try to put tips and tricks for many different applications there, but lately it's been Tableau. So what I'm going to go over is tips for better dashboard development. Then I'll have a Marvel theme, do's and don'ts to try to keep it fun. And then I'll show you how to create a reset filters button in Tableau. So tips for better dashboards, just some things that I've learned that you may not have learned. So what I like to promote is my other favorite tool, which is Alteryx. And it's purely an ETL tool. So you can use it for, you'll increase the performance of your Tableau dashboards if you take that ETL layer out of Tableau. So this is what I've noticed. So aggregate when you can, and there's 60 plus tools with Alteryx. You don't need to know coding, but coding can also be kind of nice if you know it. So I also use this tool a lot to send out emails to multiple people. There's lots of things that you can do with it. So the first tip I'm going to tell you is remove, keep only, and exclude in your tooltips. So this is something that I've always found to be kind of annoying for clients. They'll accidentally, if they're beginner users to Tableau, click keep only, click exclude, and then you get an email of like, what did I do? So go to tooltips and uncheck these two boxes. Believe me, it will be worth it. Less headaches for you. And it's one of those advanced tips you didn't know that you should know article that I have down at the bottom. So, you could search through Google and it should come up. I apologize because I haven't figured out how to do a search button in my blog site yet, but I will get there. So month over month and year over year calcs. This is something that we usually get asked, how do you set up month over month and year over year visuals? So these are a couple of calculations to kind of show you how to get the latest date. You can see there's a fixed LOD expression there, how to get the current month, and then how to get the previous month. You can see there's a combination of date trunc and date add formulas here. And then current month versus previous month. So I do have an article out there that's how to find the current month to date data compared to the prior month with the same date. So if it's the 12th, and you want to find out what were we doing with sales the previous month up to the 12th. So, check out that article there in my blog site. So another one is order of operations. I know this could be, very confusing for beginner users. So a friend of mine actually came up with a mnemonic for it, and I put it in a blog site. So Tableau's order of operations, or everybody's data can dance many times. So that's just, extract filters, data source filters, can for context, and so on. So just a fun way to kind of remember the order of operations. And then I'm pointing out to the Fleurilage twins article, because I didn't quite understand when I first started what context filters did. Until I saw that article kind of explaining, like why the top, 10 filter doesn't work. So this is kind of the example that I use in my classes, and from the Fleurilage article. So just kind of explaining, how it won't work unless you add like a context filter. So kind of check that one out. It's a good tip to know. So this is also from another colleague of mine, just to add some humor, don't use too many colors because it looks like a bowl of Fruit Loops. So we call this the Fruit Loops effect. When you have way too many colors and they're bright, can your eye really focus on any specific thing in your dashboard? So just remember the Fruit Loops effect to kind of, steer clear from that. I also had a tech tip not too long ago about using stepped colors. So this is not, this may be something that you may not be aware of, is if you can reduce the number of colors that you have in a visualization, it can help guide your user to make a quicker decision. So here's just an article my predecessor showed using a map saying, okay, if you're a manager, do those middle colors really mean anything? If you're looking at profit, you would want to focus on those states that don't have profit very quickly, and you can identify that with lowering the, stepped colors down to 2 instead of 7, 5, whatever. Heat maps, they're also really good to use. I've had users that, were trying to use it for, what times of the server does everybody ask for reports to be generated? It's like 8 a.m. obviously was that really dense number of, reporting options. So that would be another visualization that I would recommend, heat maps for server times, scheduled server times. So let me go to the next slide. Another person reached out to me and told me about this lawsofux.com. And I had no idea this site existed. And I thought it was pretty cool because it talks about different laws of visualization. One specifically being the Hick-Hyman law, which, the more choices, the more visualizations that you have on a dashboard, the longer it can take for a user to make a decision or for like their user experience. So just wanted to put this little time and choices, user experience, that it does correlate. So kind of keep your visualizations, I wouldn't say too simplistic, but you also don't want to have cram too much in a dashboard too. So another law from this site is the Doherty threshold, which means productivity soars when computers and its users interact at a pace that is less than 400 milliseconds. So, we've all experienced a dashboard maybe that connects to a large data set and it just circles and circles and circles. And then the client comes to you asking you, why is it taking so long? It's a very poor user experience. So just wanted you to kind of be cognizant of the way that you structure your data can also impact, your client experience as well. Found this article of Tableau about eye tracking. Maybe you've heard it before, but just that upper left-hand corner is your sweet spot. So I think Will Sutton also did one for us where it was just showing like eye tracking over a dashboard. And you can kind of see wherever the white spaces are, that's where the eye has kind of gone over, the screen. So beginner mistakes are putting like a map in the upper left-hand corner. Like a good design is like having your KPIs up at the top and so on. So just, it also depends on your client, but just advice on, thinking about the layout of your dashboards. This is something from college. So being the first degree is art education. So we took photography classes, and the rule of thirds is a thing in photography you may not be aware. To take a better picture, you want to think about your image as a grid, putting it into, the rule of thirds, a better picture, if it's balanced with a positive and negative space, meaning areas of white, areas of black, if you're thinking of black and white photos. So kind of think of your dashboard as a grid line is a way to help beginner users, like how to do layouts and what would be more visually appealing. So then I go to the do's and don'ts. So this is the Marvel themed presentation I did. And some of these are a stretch, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun to correlate some of the rules with Marvel, of course, because I love the movies. So just like there's many characters in the Marvel universe, there are many helpful tips for your Tableau dashboard development. It can also start with how you structure your data. Don't let your dashboard become your villain. Ultron was built on flawed data. He became a villain. So if you set your data up in a great format the first time, you won't have to fight it later, as many of us can probably attest to. Make your data tall or tidy. So they found this article on, it's a tidy data out there. So Tableau performs better with rows instead of columns. So you can optimize your dashboard if you have it in a tall format. So some of us that are Alteryx users, do this kind of thing. So here's a picture of like kind of a pivot table, where you have profit and quarter for different years as different columns, and then just taking it and restructuring it in tall format. So then you would have to do a calculation where it's if metric name equals sales, then metric value. So you can see there's a column for the metric, and then there's one numeric column, like there's 4 string columns and then 1 numeric. So that's just, and if you do this setup, you can update metrics later, and you never have to update the dashboard. So you can just add it to your data set if it's formatted in this way. So that's something else I've discovered in my Tableau career. I would say that every developer on the call has probably heard this. When you put all this work into a dashboard and they've heard, this is great, but can I download it as Excel? Like, I know part of us is like, oh, can't believe I just heard that. You know, I put all this work into visualization. So I have Thor kind of crushing the Excel view or table view here. Thor breaks tables because, you know, Tableau is meant to be, you know, for quick decisions. And sometimes you may have to tell your clients to kind of get out of that drilling down and looking at the data. Because think about all that time that is spent with, you know, drilling down into column A and B and C. So, you know, it's not designed for quick insights. Tables are just not designed for quick insights. So I just wanted to throw that tip in there too. Aggregate your data. So do you really need to have every transaction of the day, or can you aggregate it by making a summary for the day, you know, month, you know, year? So, you know, large data structures, you know, can be huge, and then that's slow processing speeds for the server. So, you know, Hawk is your large data set. Hawk can crash the server if you think about it that way. And then I have Mark Ruffalo on the right, you know, as an aggregated table, which is less space and it has less constraints on your server. So data scaffolding, data scaffolding, I should say. So those of us that have played with Sample Superstore, we can see that there's missing some, you know, information for certain days, you know, maybe it was a holiday or something like that. But if you show your data in like this calendar kind of format, you may need to kind of fill the holes with data scaffolding. So there's a great article where the Fleur trends have on date scaffolding out there, and using the Sample Superstore, you know, if you want to check that out, and it kind of makes a little bit of sense. And then just to correlate here, I have Iron Man missing parts of the suit. You know, he didn't perform well if he was missing part of his suit when he was flying. So just a fun way of thinking about it. And then this is probably a stretch. So something for people who are doing SQL queries to a database in Tableau. Some people don't know about partitioning or indexing. So a partition is to divide things in parts. So if you don't have a partition by statement in a SQL query, you're scanning the entire database, which can take a long time. So you'll pull the data back faster if you have that partition by statement. And this is a loose correlation with the many worlds of, you know, the tree with Thor's universe. So, you know, thinking about it, like Thor has to look at different worlds and then do the scanning. So your partition by statement would be, okay, I'm drilling down to Asgard. I'm looking for him in Asgard, or and I probably can't even pronounce something, Alfhem or something like that. You know, you put that in your where clause, and then it will it will speed up the query. So that's just one way of thinking about that. Cartesian joins. So this is something that people do in Tableau, where they join multiple tables to multiple tables. You know, you can get into this issue with blending. So you can create a Cartesian product if you literally join everything to everything. So what it does is it duplicates. So in this example, I have two tables, one that says first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Then I have the second table that has first, second, third, sixth, seventh. And you can see it's doing a combination for every single table. So that's a Cartesian product. So just with Loki, with him multiplying, once again, a stretch, you know, Cartesian join equals multiples of Loki. So, and then don't have multiple table joins. So same thing. So like a multiple table join on the bottom, where you've got lots of left outer joins, Ultron, you know, so the full outer is joining everything to everything. So, you know, they can slow down Tableau because they contain values from all tables. So every single combination, adding everything to everything. So then you have lots of resources out there for you, of course, my blog site, Tech Tips Girl. You've got Data Theories, my boss's website, Zach Geis. He's also another Tableau ambassador. The Information Lab has some great articles. Makeover Monday, of course, has some, I've ventured in there. If you haven't had a chance to go over to Makeover Monday, it's fun. You get a fun data set and try to see what you can create with it. And you can also watch the video that Andy Kriebel does. VisArt Pandy is another website that he's got a lot of tutorials about how to create certain things. Storytelling with data, and then of course like visual vocabulary, which is another Andy. I don't think there's a direct link to that externally, but if you do a search, you can look up visual vocabulary, and it should show up. What is a great Tableau dashboard that shows you different visualizations with different subjects. So if you wanted to look up ranking, like how do I show ranking in a dashboard? You can click on the ranking tab and see multiple different charts that you could use for ranking purposes. And then of course, Google and YouTube. So, all right, let me go with so once again, my Tech Tips website, it's got Tableau, Ultrix, and Microsoft Office. Icons 8, where I go, icons8.com. So if you wanted to look for a refresh icon, this is what I downloaded for today's exercise. You could just do a search for, refresh or restart, I think I did. And it'll show you different icons, replay, you could download one of these, restart, I think is what I downloaded. I downloaded this black icon here for my dashboard. And then can I condense my screen? Can you guys see maybe not. So there's advanced tips that you shouldn't know, that article out there, you can just search Google for that. And then there was how to find the current month to date, the prior month of date. And I walked through several different calculations to show you how to set it up through that article there. Tableau order of operations. I wanted to go to the Thorlage twins. They have a great site. So this is that top end, why isn't the top 10 filter working? So they have a couple of methods there that you can get your data set to work. So this is a great one for beginner user Tableau and you really want to learn how context filters work. Stepped colors, we already talked about that. Laws of UX, you can see there's a lot here. Doherty threshold, the Hicks law. So you can see there's a bunch here. So that's simply lawsofux.com. Eye tracking, just do a search for tableau.com with their eye tracking video. So it was pretty helpful. And then rule of thirds, you can just search for rule of thirds on Google and, you can see what it means. And there's lots of articles out there on it. So, Tableau public. So I do have a reset filter dashboard that I updated this morning. So I'm not going to create this table. We're at 1229 because it's pretty complex with recreating it. But as you see here, we could pick some states like Alabama, Arizona, and then we could pick, consumer segment. Let me go back and hit the apply button for the states. So we've got these 2 filters, and then say, we filtered the dashboard by that, but now we want to just refresh and reset. So then you can see that it wipes out the filters for state and segment. So pretty helpful to do. So let me go ahead and so you can create a new worksheet where, connecting to the sample Superstore data set here. I just created something where I put we can put subcategory on rows and then putting order date on columns. Make this continuous, and then I'll just put sales on rows so we can see some seasonality here. And then you know what? I'm going to put region on rows as well. What was the other thing that I had on public? So it was region, it was state. We could do region. Let me think. Oh, segment. And I'll just put actually move segment to color. Okay, so not a great visualization, but I just wanted to, create something so we could go, I could show you how this works. So just grabbing, whoops, not entire view. Let's do standard. So we could see we've got central, you know what, maybe we don't want to have region here, so I'm just going to hide it. But I do want to have my different filters here. So I'm going to go ahead and show region, and I'm going to modify it to have multiple values drop down. And then maybe I want to put that apply button. This is another tip. So apply button is helpful if you have a very large data set. Because every time that you adjust with a filter normally, you can see that the visualization changes behind the scenes. So if you have a large data set, we recommend putting that apply button on there. So that way the visualization doesn't change unless you hit the apply button. So apply, take out south, maybe hit apply, it will change the background here. So another quick tip, apply button. And the other visualization, let me see, I wanted to do segment, could do that one and change it to multiple values drop down, and then adding that apply button. Another thing I like to recommend to users is to do a collapsible container. So to hide your filters. So what you can do is just drag a container down here under objects to your canvas and then hit floating. And then I like to color my container too, so I can differentiate it from the background, maybe make it like a light gray. So you can see when you put filters in there, it won't, sometimes it's hard to see with the background. So then I also like to add a show hide button. You can see that there's normally a hamburger menu or there's an X. You can also change these buttons, which I like to do. So when it's shown, I'll choose, let's see, a filter minus icon. And this is downloaded from Icons 8. Item hidden, I'm going to show just a regular, actually, we do a filter minus for that one, and I'll go back and change this to a filter X. And then, of course, you can do image or text. I like the image button, and then just put in your tooltip. Click here to close the filter menu. Click here to show the filter options or something like that. So then you could see my icon here, and then just drag your filters to your collapsible container. I also like to put a little bit of text up at the top here, select the filters below. And then, of course, move this over to the corner and then move the container over here. So now if we hate this little, can I move it? Oh, I can move it. Yay. Okay. So if you go to present mode, you can see what the user will see. So if you hover over there, it says click here to show filter options. So let's go ahead and create our reset options here. So let me hit escape and then create our reset sheet. So here, and then let me just look back at my example here. So I just created text that said reset filters, and then I just put it on a text label of a new worksheet. So here, and then just put it on text. So reset filters, and then change it to a shape. So we could add, and this is another tip, is always create a custom folder under shapes. So you could find shapes in your My Tableau repository and then click OK. So then I just want to entire view, and then maybe change my label to alignment underneath at the bottom. You could take away the text if you wanted to. You click on the label, you can change the text to 14, you can make it bold. Okay, so I'm going to put this on my dashboard. So I'm going to show my alt click. Then I'm going to drag this to my collapsible container. It doesn't work right now, but I have to go up to dashboard and then actions. And then I will click filter. And then what I want is sheet. Let me see if I forget how I configured this. 1 second. So we're going to go to dashboard, actions, and then reset filters. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that you pick the reset button worksheet up here. Make sure you select, and then make sure that you're picking the worksheet that you want it to apply to. So, okay, let's go back to our worksheet. And it would help if I named these things. So let's call this our reset. Let's call this our table or worksheet. So now when we go to dashboard and actions, filter, and then we want to source sheets, worksheets, target sheets, and then you're going to select the select, and you should have selected fields, which should be the region. Click OK, so that'll be our first one. And then our next one will be, is it segment? And click OK. So hopefully I did this right. Click OK. So now if we select some values, consumer apply, and then when you click reset, it should reset it. Did I do it backwards? I think I did it backwards. There we go. I did it backwards. So make sure that you have reset as the source sheet and worksheet as the target sheet, and then pick the items that all of the items that you have filtering on the dashboard. So if you have a filter for region, if you have a filter for segments, and then click OK. So, all right. I can see there's a lot of chat. Did anyone have any questions? Does anyone want me to do something a little bit slower or go back to something? You can unmute yourself.
Nope, I'm not seeing any questions.
Yeah, if you want to put any questions in the chat or want to unmute or let us know, more than happy to help you out. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, Don, just real quick, when you were trying to get that to work and it didn't exactly go as you wanted to, and then like, whoops, that's what it was. I reversed it, and you went back and you reversed it, and now it's working. Sometimes, you know, whether even you just starting out using this or you're experienced like we are, sometimes it's just trial and error until you get it to work the way that you need it to. So the fact that you knew exactly where to go to switch that, and that was a key. You know, it doesn't always work the first time we put these things together, but eventually we get there.
Some other tips are, how to quickly get rid of a title and an axis is you just right click, edit axis, and click delete. That's something that, wasn't aware of. Because I mean, if you think about it, does it add value? Do the titles add value? So right here, edit axis, and then just delete sales, because it doesn't really. And another thing I noticed that if you're new to Tableau, you may not be aware of is if you do edit axis, independent axis values for rows, because you may notice that accessories have 0 to 4K, but appliances only have 0 to 2K. So if you do that independent axis ranges for each row, you should show the axis when you do this. Otherwise, it can be misleading. Other people may disagree that you could just use the tooltips. Other things are get rid of the visual noise. So if you go back to the worksheet, because the grid lines in the background, they don't really add anything. So just, remember to just go and just take all of these column dividers off, and then your grid lines by clicking on, format lines here. It's called visual noise is the terminology, where it just has that gray background and doesn't really add anything. Or maybe you want to have like just individual row dividers, to kind of differentiate those. And there's like different levels that you could add to when you're doing these. So just kind of be aware of those. Some people like to do row banding, which I don't know if you prefer that or not. So if you go click on the paint bucket and then use this option here, you can see that it adds gray for every other row. Some users like it, some users don't. So just be aware that row banding is also a thing. This is something I wasn't aware of when I first started either. Any other questions or comments? So I might be doing a tech tip soon on how to make like a more complex visualization where you can do multiple dual axes. I had originally toyed with doing this one for the session, but it's quite complex. So look for another tech tip on how to create a visualization like this. Because there's some great ones out there in Tableau Public that I favorited. And this is something else that I just like to do, is to go out there and favorite things and try to see if I can recreate them. So I noticed from a London user group session, they had this visualization, and I was like, I would love to figure out how to do this. So you can download some of them and just try to see if you can't build it from scratch. And that is how I advanced.
And this is only one cheat, which is crazy, right? This is, I think, the part that it's interesting. It's only one cheat. Everything in one sheet.
I see.
There are some questions, I think, Aaron, here. Let me see if we can go back here. Let's see.
Can a worksheet template / style be created to minimize visual noise from the start? Or do you think that's more of a as you go along, you start taking things out and making it easier?
Yeah, like I wish the default would be to get rid of the grid lines and stuff at first, but like wish that was a Tableau default, but
one of the things that you can do if you go back to Tableau, that I was going to ask you if you do this, I do this all the time. Go back to Tableau. So if you go to window, I think it's formatting, right? Aaron, formatting, what formatting? I think it's formatting. I'm sorry, formatting. Format. Like no, the next that one. You can go to workbook, and in workbook, it will take the grid lines everywhere, right? If you go to workbook, because this is like the one that controls every single tab that you have underneath. So you can do the one on top, the previous one, I think, and it will take them all out in one place. So I usually start here on this format, and it will apply everywhere all the time. So
I've never seen that before.
Me
oh, you never seen that? Okay, I do that. So if you take lines, yeah, if this one will control every single tab here. So if you have 20 tabs, it will take it away. If you wanted every tab to be one font, you can change all fonts at the same time. all of that. This is that one is called format workbook, because the workbook is all of them together, right? So this one I use all the time.
That will save so much time and steps. So thank you.
Yes. You're welcome. Yeah.
Akanksha, I think you're next.
Mhm.
And I can't hear you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the great presentation. I love your presentation and all the graphics. And I believe that you're a fan of all the superheroes, right? Yeah. So I have 3 questions. One is about the workflow. In my organization, we just implemented using the Tableau. As a student, I was doing my master's and working as a graduate assistant. I was using Tableau desktop and Tableau public extensively, but we are using Tableau online. And my first question is about the workflow. If we have to generate the weekly reports, and there are minimal changes that the person who are responsible to add the new details are making, how to refine the workflow so that minimal time are invested to generate those reports in Tableau.
So if it's an existing workbook out there on the server, you just need to update the data source. That's where like I would use something like an ETL tool and point to data source on the server. So updating the data source on the server and not changing the Tableau workbook. So, but if you do need to change the Tableau, you should structure it in such a way where you shouldn't have to keep publishing a Tableau dashboard every single time that a slight change is modified. And that's what gets into that whole making data tall video that it's a very lengthy discussion, but that's one method. But I would always recommend structuring it in such a way where you could add something later and then it doesn't impact the workbook. So nothing breaks like calculations and stuff like that. So
maybe the heading needs to be changed, like executive dashboard, monthly report on invoice forecasting, January 2023, and it should change January to February and something like that. And do you do such things in your line of work, like generate the reports?
So there is the filter where you could put so if you put the order date on your filter, you could have it to where it is filtered the latest workbook when opened, the latest date when the workbook is opened. And you can put like those dates and fields into a column where it automatically changes when the data is refreshed. It'll point to like that max date. So you would have to do like a max date calculation and then put that in your title. So it'll automatically change when the data is updated. Instead of just having like a stagnant, like January, like a hard code text. So
wow, this is so good to know. And recently I was looking at the Autumn Botany dashboard. My name was there. Hi, Akansha. So I was amazed. How is this possible? So there must be something out there. So my second question is about the calculated field. So in Excel, one of my colleagues has generated using 5 input parameters and some other conditions in another sheet. Using 2 sheets, he generated multiple columns to basis the rule logic that he created. And I want to recreate the entire thing in Tableau using calculated field. So I have parameters in one sheet and the inputs in one sheet. Do you think giving the logic within the calculated field is the good thing to do, or I can use parameter sheet along with my main input sheet to create the calculated field?
it depends on your data structure and also like how the workbook is structured. Like that's not an easy answer. Like we've all had workbooks where like we've taken over from someone and it could be such a mess. It could be like so many different calculations and so on. That's why I kind of recommend using folders for kind of organizing your data. And if you have to share your workbook and somebody else has to work on it later, it's such a time saver is to group, like create folders and kind of group your calculated fields there. So like I have shipping calculations, I've got date calculations, and it's just a way to kind of organize your data. So it kind of, I know it doesn't answer your question, but I'd have to see what your, like how your data is formatted to see. And sometimes you may just have to dissect your workbook to see what's going on. Like, what is this parameter doing? What is this calculated field doing? It's
Okay.
not an easy thing to do, but I also like to take notes and
Okay.
say, okay, so these calculations are doing this. So, and it's also how I reverse engineer workbooks that I see online. I download them and then try to figure out what's going on.
Right. I was trying to dissect the Autumn Botany's this thing, but it was too complex for me to dissect. Sometimes you don't know that what you're looking at, what feature is this? And it's very hard to dissect, but I just love that dashboard. And my third and final question is about the financial data visualization. So I have financial statements in the companies saved in the server somewhere, and I want to create some meaningful trend analysis or the visualizations for my CFO. And do you have any kind of tips to how to get started with this, and what kind of mind frame and mindset I should have as a starting point?
So I would recommend Tableau Public. So
Okay.
there's lots of like financial dashboards to get inspiration.
Right.
There's lots of vizzes out there. There's some beginner ones, but there's some more complex ones. I favorited this one because I love it. So it's got text in it. I know some people aren't a fan of text on dashboards and some people are, because if you want to make them more accessible, it's better to have text on a dashboard. So you can see that it clearly explains each of the visuals here. And it also has an income statement. So create an account on Tableau Public and just start favoriting things. So like maybe you might want to pattern your dashboard like something somebody else created. Maybe you want to take a piece from here and a piece from this other dashboard elsewhere. So that's what I would recommend.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
Chike, you're next.
Hi. So I once had a problem where I had to bring in multiple sheets in Excel into Tableau. So it was multiple worksheets in a workbook, and I had to bring it into Tableau, and I struggled so much. So I went to ask if you had an idea on how like this could be done or something.
So you can do unions in Tableau, but the caveat is that, it's for instances where like you receive an Excel file that has May 2022 data. Then you have another file that's exactly the same schema, meaning it has the same columns, rows, it's named the same, in the same folder, and you want to bring them all in at the same time. So you've got June 2022, you've got May 2022, you've got July 2022. You can use a wildcard on your data source tab and bring them all in at once. But there are some caveats to that. So that's a quick way of pulling them all in if they're the same structure and schema. But if they're very large, it can slow down Tableau. And that's why I would recommend using an ETL tool to kind of, manipulating, aggregating it, and then, because you can save with Alteryx as a hyper file. So then that hyper file is perfectly formatted for Tableau, and you can point Tableau to that hyper file. So it depends on your data structure. Like, do you have calculations in the worksheet that you need to create? Like,
Yeah, sure. So what you had was you kind of like had like a central worksheet where different sheets were pointing towards it, something like that, with multiple calculations.
Yeah, it's trying to recreate an Excel sheet is going to be, it's not really the purpose of Tableau. Tableau is designed to be, designed, and you can create visualizations that help your user come to quicker decisions than digging down into an Excel file and what does column A, what does column H look like? And, oh, I'm focusing on, segment where I was focusing on category before. So it's just like, it takes a while to process that data visually. Whereas Tableau, you can make these charts and things to kind of come to a better decision. So not looking at your Excel spreadsheet, like I can't really give you too much advice. You can bring in sheets as different data sources. You can union them, you can join them, but when you start having to clean up your data, like I'd really recommend using an ETL tool like Alteryx or Tableau Prep or some of the other ones that are out there. Because the data is never clean. We always assume we have a clean data structure and it's never clean. Like we always have to do something to it to make it ready for, Tableau or other reports.
All right, thanks. All right, bye.
Sure. Great questions. Really making me think today. So I appreciate it.
We've got one more question there.
Okay, so
Yeah, my question is, see, I have a dashboard to two different benchmarks. So if I select January, February, March 2023, the other benchmark, which is in the same dashboard, has to display for the previous year, January, February, March, if I 2022. Similarly, if I have to select March, April, May, so similarly, it has to display March, April, May of the previous year dynamically. So is it possible?
So there are lots of month over month, year over year visualizations out there. That is a very common ask. One of the ones I favorited was like this AWS training certification template. They have a dashboard that gives you a lot of ways to visualize those month over month and year over year visualizations. You could do, and it's thinking right now, I'm trying to show it. So you could do an area chart comparing the previous year to the prior year. You could do a bullet graph where you have the current month and then your reference line is the previous month. So there's lots of ways to visualize year over year, month over month visualizations. You could search for it in Tableau Public if you want to get ideas. But these are just some of those. Some people use up and down arrows and KPIs. So you could do previous to current, So hopefully that answered your question or gave you like a way to like move forward.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
And then Aaron, I'll turn it back to you because I know we have 3 minutes left for your.
We always go over, so it's never a problem. Also, everyone would like to know where you got your background so that they can steal it as well.
So Google Office Space, and it's just an image online from Office Space. The one at work, one of my friends, Will Perkins, who's another social ambassador, he actually put my old manager's face on Lumberg's face. So I just don't have that externally. So it's kind of funny. But
nobody would get that reference, but internally, I bet it's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if any more questions here. Doesn't look like it.
So you can feel free to, reach out to me on LinkedIn. If, I'm responsive to emails there. If you are from Chase, email, but it, is the best way to get a hold of me. There's lots of people, so I'm not usually on Skype or Messenger.
I think there was this discussion about, and I wanted to ask you if you do this and or if you recommend this to other that are starting with Tableau, or how do you guys do this in Chase? Do you guys have, as a team, that you're part of the COE and stuff like that? You guys have kind of like a template where, for example, I used to use a template when we were at Comcast at Universal with Aaron, where, for example, I have my logo, I have my header, my footer, my font, and then of course, I will use that. And when I start a new project, I will just open that. You already have all that stuff there. I already have, I want to do like, let's say, letter portrait or this size of the dashboard. It was always the same size. And I will just open that and just bring in all the data sources that I need, replace the data source with that dummy one that maybe doesn't have anything, and then start my project, and it will save me some time. You guys do something like that?
Some areas do, because I'm part of the CUE, so like I see everything across all lines of business.
Mhm.
So some people do, some people are very strict, like marketing. They're very strict with how
Mhm.
their templates are. Like it must be
Mhm.
named this way. It must have last refresh date over on the right, and some
Exactly,
areas don't.
things like that.
So it depends on the area, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it saves you a lot of time. For example, we used to have in that template a ton of different calculations, date calculations, right? Like usually date calculations that are the most common used ones.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we use maybe date as the name of the field. And of course, when you're bringing a new data source, it may have transaction date or something different, right? But it doesn't matter where, we just, reference that or replace it and
Yeah.
done. But we have a ton of calculations already created. Many of the ones that you have here, like current year today versus previous year today, and it will just save you a lot of time. I mean, that's one of the things that I think anybody can do out there. Yeah, this is a great one for sure.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah. Wow. Do you have a copy? Can you put this one on the chat, like a link? This is wonderful. I didn't even seen this before. This
Sure. Yeah.
It's really
I don't know how I came across it, but yeah, it is a great one.
very good one. Any other question? Anybody?
Whoops, wrong thing. I
Mhm.
just copied the Zoom details. I apologize. I'll have to find it externally. 1 second.
No, I think if you look up, try it again, I think it will work. Maybe just copy paste. Yeah. Any other question? Any other question? Next month we have very good. We have Brandy Beals, wonderful speaker, and every single month we already have a speaker already booked. The whole year for us is completely booked already. So if anybody, please let other people know that use Tableau. Every month we're doing this every single month. We're not missing any month all the way to December, and we have speakers already lined up, and it will be like lunch and learn, at the same time. So easy to come with and participate and let everybody know that we're here to help you. If you have any jobs out there that you're looking for anyone, let us know. You're looking for a job, let us know too. So we probably help you. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yep. So next month we got Brandy. April we got Alyssa. Again, we've got the whole slate for the rest of the year. Dawn, thank you so much for your presentation and all the info. We had a really good chat going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. So we'll try to get this presentation out to everybody by the end of the week, along with the link to the recording. And if you need anything, just reach out to us. We're always here. This is what we do. This is what we like. So we're always available. So do you need anything else? Otherwise, I'm good to go.
No, we're good. We're good. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I know that it's being tough out there for many folks that are in this, data jobs and things like that. So, hey, we're here to help you. That's the idea, right? Networking and being part of a community. Because if you have a job, please don't hesitate to send it to us, and we will share with our community and with everybody that we know. So, more than happy to do that. Thank you.
All right, Don. Thanks again.
Sure.
All right.
See you
Thank you.
guys.
Have a wonderful weekend. Yeah.